Well, a very good morning and welcome to Reform UK's Conference 2024. Yes, this is exclusive behind-the-scenes footage of what is really going on here at the National Exhibition Centre here in Birmingham. Just have a look at this. The sense of anticipation is literally palpable. 4,000 people packing into this arena this afternoon. And for me personally, the journey that we've been on as a party is really quite unbelievable. It's quite extraordinary to think that just 4 years ago we started this party and that we got 4 million votes in the general election. We managed to elect 5 members of parliament, all of whom are here today. We've got delegates from all over the country coming here to Birmingham to be part of the fastest growing political party in Britain. And as I said, this is exclusive behind the scenes footage of what is happening here in Birmingham. But we've got some really, really important speeches. Let's just have a look at what is coming up today. We're going to kick off with James McMurdo. His speech at 12:15. He is the Member of Parliament for South Basildon and East Thurrock. After him, we move on to my old friend and colleague, of course, Ann Widdecombe, who is our immigration spokesperson, someone I know extremely well. I'll tell you more about how well I know her and the times we spent in Brussels a little later on. We're also going to be talking about what we're trying to achieve here at Reform UK. You know, what we're trying to do is to climb a mountain, and there is that great maxim, isn't there? Belief creates reality. And Ant's going to talk about what it's like to be a former officer, a soldier, a commando in the British Army, and he's going to talk about conquering goals. And that's the message that we want to send to everyone here, to say, actually, this country is in a desperate state, and what the country needs more than anything is change. And it needs Reform UK. You can see that. The Labour government falling to pieces already in just a few short weeks. And that is why this party, the fastest growing party in British politics, is quite so important. Let's have a look at some more things that are happening here. Well, of course, here, yes, of course, it is the Reform UK bus. Let's just look at the slogans on the side, though. Slash immigration, slash the cost of living, and boost wages. That's what we believe in at Reform UK. There was a lot of talk, actually, before the election about the fact that many of these parties stand on a manifesto which is, quite frankly, a pack of lies, and they never actually adhere to any of those promises that they make. And we believe passionately in a commitment to say this is what we're going to do when we get into government. Let's go and talk to some of the delegates here. Very good morning to you. Now, who are you and where are you from?
My name's Debbie and I'm from Salford.
Lovely. And why are you here?
I'm here to support the party. Looking forward to great things in the future.
OK, and what about yourself?
My name's Sally and I'm from East Preston, down on the south coast.
Very nice indeed. So why have you been attracted to this particular party and not one of the others?
Because it's the best one.
Why?
I like everything that they stand for, all of the...
Can I just ask you also about your faith in politics and politicians generally? It seems to me Keir Starmer's government is falling apart within just weeks. He's embroiled in a number of scandals. And there is a sense, isn't there, that the British public is very disconnected?
Very much so. I mean, I've been following this party since its emergence, really, and I love everything that it stands for. And I'm really excited to see how it's coming on today as well, how it's going to be democratised and everything that goes with it.
And we're going to be talking about that with our chairman, Sir Youssef, tomorrow, about the democratisation of the party. Let me just talk to you, sir, if I may. Who are you and where are you from?
The name's Paul. I'm from Wrexham, near Chester.
And again, why are you here? What is it about the party that attracts you?
I've lost faith in the Conservatives. Interested to see how Labour are failing so quickly, and interested now to meet people from the community and to learn more about the Constitution, the administration, and just so not much about policies really. It's more about how's this going to work together to form an effective, how do we get proper, effective people who deserve to be MPs and councillors and so forth, based on merit and quality and so forth. That's the key for me.
And just in terms, I've been to a number of party conferences, let me tell you, and the Conservative Party conference is being described as a wake, which is about to take place. What's your sense about the atmosphere here today?
I think one of the key differences is it's about members. It's not about people who are trying to get an angle on this. just looking to get their voice heard. It's more about members, it's grassroots, and I think that's quite critical to see. It's about meeting people who will form the administration and the people on the ground that will be doing the canvassing, people that could end up being candidates and so forth. So really interested to see how this develops, because I think at the moment the jury's out. Is Reform going to get their act together, or are the Conservatives? And I think the Conservatives show no sign of it not being awake. So I think Reform is really the key player in town at the moment.
I mean, is there a sense that the Conservative Party are so concerned with actually so much infighting? We've now been whittled down to 4 potential leaders at a time when actually what we need is a very strong opposition, and the Conservative Party does not offer that.
It doesn't offer it. And the other problem they've got is I think the people that end up being their MPs at the moment are not probably well placed to select. They'll pre-select the candidates that will go to the members. And so will they get the right leader? I have very little faith that they will select the right person, because the whole process, and it's indulgent to wait so long not to get on with it. But equally, I can see they might choose someone that's better. I don't know. I don't have much faith that they will actually get their act together.
Right, very good. Thank you very much indeed. I can actually see Nigel Farage, actually. I'm just going to come over and say very quickly hello to Nigel. Nigel, hello. How are you?
David, good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm actually quite excited about it all. I mean, I know I'm 60, but I don't feel it.
Oh, come on. You're a young man.
No, I'm excited about it. I sense we're going to have a tremendous energy in the room. And I mean, if this party is going to fulfill its potential, there's a limit to what I can do. It's up to these people.
Yeah, I was just saying, on a personal level, the journey we've been on is extraordinary, isn't it? If you look back to the conferences we held just 4 years ago, and if you look here, we've got 4,000 people crammed into the NEC. Could you ever imagine that it would be this big?
I don't know what I thought, really. I just thought I'm going to come back and have a go. And just by the energy, just looking at how different people are, the eclectic mix of people, I think we're onto something really big. Really, really big. But, and the theme of my speech is that the party's come of age. I'm relinquishing control.
Yes.
These guys are now running it, and it will succeed or fail according to the people in this room.
But you're still a very important part of this, and I spent a lot of time with you in Clacton as well. And actually, you must be very proud.
I am. No, I am. When you give up your life and go back into politics, you think, well, would it work? Won't it work? It's working.
It definitely
is working.
Well, I hope your speech goes really well. I shall be rooting for you, Nigel. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go and have a look around the auditorium. Let me bring you over here. It is absolutely crazy in here. If we go all the way over here, you can see that the atmosphere is building. I'm going to take you for a behind-the-scenes tour. Right, so this is the front of the stage. As you can see, we've got these huge graphics hanging from the ceiling, Reform UK National Conference 2024. You'll also notice, for the eagle-eyed viewers, this new slogan, family, community and country. And I don't think enough political parties talk about those three key values. Family. The family is integral in everything we do in this country. Community, rebuilding communities around this great country, or what was a great country once. And of course, country itself, rebuilding the country and making sure that people are proud to be in this country. Let's go further. And you can see here, we have a proscenium stage, which comes all the way here. And actually, I'm opening this conference, so I then have to go from here all the way around the back, put a headset on, then I have to walk over here, come all the way there without falling over. The question is, can I do that? So this is the podium where people are going to be doing their speeches from. And you can see that this is where it will be addressed from. And if we just then spin round, you can see the clock there, 11:39 currently. So we have 21 minutes to go until we start with our keynote speeches. And then, as you can see, multiple cameras getting ready to film all of the action. And you can see the audience coming in and a sense of palpable excitement. Let me just talk to this lovely lady. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you too. What's your name and why are you here?
My name is Sharon Rotherham, and I'm here because I'm hoping to see how going to take the country forward and take us away from the nightmare that we're living in right now.
And why do you think just describe the nightmare for us?
Okay, well, I was born in 1970.
Yeah, you're a youngster.
It's a continual deterioration, the quality of life. I have to be honest, it was far better then. The poverty in my town, I run a small charity, and I was an accountant for 25 years, and I was a small business advisor. The tax situation is a joke. The charity that I run is, the people are hungry, kids are hungry in my town. I'm very passionate about my town. And the kids are hungry, honestly. There's kids going to school every day. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think there is a real sense of desperation, actually. Just let me ask you a question about the number of people who voted Labour. Actually, their vote didn't go up. It's the fact that people voted away from the Conservative Party. Do you think there is a sense of buyer's remorse that Labour has got in?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I don't think Labour's in touch with its original voter, which was where I'm from. It's a safe Labour seat. It always has been for generations. And I really do think that they're not in touch. I mean, the winter fuel thing.
Stripping 10 million pensioners of their winter fuel allowance, whilst Rachel Reeves claims, what, 440,000 in her own in her own heating bills?
Absolutely. But I think that they're their voters. And they're the people that they're earning. I know personally, because I vote Reform, and I debate with people in my town who massively regret voting Labour now and did not expect that.
No, I agree with you. I think there's enormous buyer's remorse. Thank you so much for your time. Look, the journey we've come on as a party is really quite something. And in the general election campaign, we sat down and we thought about the best way to convey the message to the people, to the electorate who were going to vote. And Nigel came up with a very simple idea. This is Nigel's pledge, his vision of how we build a better country. This is what Nigel Farage said in our party election broadcast to the nation to say we have to build a better Britain.
Life at me's been pretty good. After years of campaigning to leave the European Union, I won. I took on the banks and I beat them. I've been retired from politics, enjoying life living here in the Kent countryside with my wonderful dog, and life is superb. But I've come out of retirement because Britain is broken and Britain needs reform. You know, nothing works anymore, does it? Nothing works. The health service, travelling anywhere, trying to get your kids or grandkids to get a house, rents have gone through the roof. Nothing actually works. Now, if we had political solutions, I wouldn't mind. But a Conservative government for 14 years has raised our taxes, taken away our freedoms, allowed mass immigration on a scale unthinkable in the history of our nation, and all of our lives have been damaged by it. And as for the Labour Party, well, it's just more of the same. They don't offer any positive solutions. So I'm back in politics, I'm back leading Reform UK, and boy, we're doing well. We really are on the move. We've got momentum behind our campaign. And I'm doing it because I believe in my country. I'm doing it because I believe in values. Values of family, values of community, values, actually, of country. I see our kids being poisoned through the education system, told we're the worst country that's ever existed in the history of the world. I see our taxation system trapping people on benefits, stopping them effectively from going back to work. I see young people leaving our country. But above all, folks, of all the things that we're proposing, and we want no one to pay tax until they earn £20,000 a year. We want people on benefits to be incentivised to get back to work. But above all, this should be the immigration election. And this is no commentary on anyone that comes. Most of whom that do come are really great people that work hard. But our population's risen by 6 million since 2010. We need to put a freeze on migration. We need to leave the European Court of Human Rights so we can stop people crossing the Channel from Dover. We need leaders who believe in Britain. This is a revolt against the political establishment. So on July the 4th, do different. Vote for real change. Vote for a voice in Parliament that will give real opposition. Stand up for the country and stand up for you. Vote Reform UK on July the 4th.
And that, of course, was our party election broadcast. Simple, effective, a pledge, an honest man saying how he is going to change the country. Well, joining me now is Matt Goodwin, who is a pollster and commentator. You are a man who has studied politics and the history of politics for some particular time, some 10 years or so. What are your views about the changing nature of politics currently?
Well, I think what you're seeing here, and by the way, it's a remarkable scene. I mean, this place is absolutely jumping. We've got really the beginning of a political revolution that's been going on, I think, really for about 15 years. You know, first you had the rise of Nigel and UKIP. Then you had that big vote for Brexit. Then you had the Brexit Party. Now you've got the Reform Party. And, you know, looking around the hall today, what's clear, it's not just Conservatives. You've got ex-Labour people, you've got some ex-Lib Dem people, you've got lots of none of the above people. And if Reform's getting 14% under a Conservative government, now we've got this really unpopular Labour government. You know, Keir Starmer's ratings are going through the floor. Labour's ratings are going through the floor. I think there's a unique opportunity actually for Reform to reshape the landscape of British politics.
I'm particularly struck by delegates who may well have been former Labour voters who say they're so upset, so disenfranchised with the Labour government that the wheels have come off so quickly that actually it seems that they were elected on nothing more than a bunch of lies. They had no intention of sticking to their manifesto pledges. Are you surprised that Starmer's popularity has dropped so far and so quickly?
I am surprised. I didn't think Keir Starmer would be quite this bad. On a whole suite of issues, he's really mismanaged. You know, take immigration. That's a big one. Immigration is the number one issue for Reform voters. I did the biggest survey of Reform voters. We asked 3,000. What's your top issue? Immigration. And you can hear them now. They're clapping. I think Nigel's come in. I think he's just waved to the crowd. And on the small boats, Labour, they've removed the Rwanda plan, so we don't have a deterrent. They've changed the Illegal Migration Act. We can't deport people. They're basically putting a big sign.
And an amnesty for those people who are here already.
They've given an amnesty to about 60,000 people, not changing all the things that we're giving those people when they come into the country, a new phone, a cash card, all the rest of it. So you might as well put a big sign on the White Cliffs of Dover saying, come on in. And, you know, as we saw with the protests over the summer, the immigration protests, Starmer is just tin-eared. He doesn't want to really think about what the mood in the country is like, how frustrated everybody is. And to top it off, we've now got free gear Keir, who is taking more freebies in Parliament than any other member of Parliament. He's taking football tickets, boxes at stadiums, you know, he's getting clothes, glasses, and doing that while taking money off pensioners. And I think the hypocrisy for lots of people really stinks.
I mean, that to me seems an incredibly stupid move, taking the money, the winter fuel allowance off 10 million pensioners, at the same time Rachel Reeves claiming, what, £440,000 from our own tax money to heat her house. I mean, that actually sits very badly.
Well, one of the things people don't know is last year Keir Starmer actually earned 400 grand in a year, and he's yet taking free glasses off a Labour donor. And don't forget, this is a guy that stood in the Rose Garden and said the era of sleaze is over, the era of cronyism is over. Let me tell you one thing though, David. I think there's lots of Labour people watching today, because I think they're looking at this party, they're looking at this movement, and they know the next big goal, the big open goal for this party is not only in the Tory shires, but is actually in the Red Wall. It's in the industrial heartlands. It's in the sort of the West Midlands, the East Midlands, the North East and North West. All those areas that the Tories can't get into, and they're not going to be able to get into for a very, very long time. So if I was Labour, I'd be looking at this convention, this conference, and I'd be thinking, these guys are actually coming for us. They're going to park their tanks on our lawn.
Matt, thank you ever so much for the moment. Matt Goodwin there. I just want to introduce now to you Kirsty Walmsley, if I may, because that was a wonderful segue into talking about the nations and regions. Kirsty, you and I have worked together for a very long time. You're head of Wales, you're head of all the Welsh candidates, and Matt was just talking about the fact this isn't a London-centric movement, it's not a metropolitan movement. This is about all the nations and all the regions. That's Scotland and it's Wales.
100%. There's so much passion across the board. In Wales, you can feel a sea change from where we were. So reminiscing back to when I was your agent previously, and we only had a handful of people come out to support you. Now what we found at the recent general election is that we have tens and tens of people coming out in every single constituency. Our supporters aren't just people that are putting their cross next to us in the box at the ballot. They're people who are actively wanting to come out and campaign for us and get involved with our branches, which we're in the process of setting up.
I mean, it's really exciting. When we look back, though, just tell our viewers about, it was rather more inauspicious, wasn't it, at the start? I mean, you and I were sort of sitting on the floor doing Corex boards. You and I campaigned in Sedgefield, sticking those boards on the side of a van.
I know, I have fond memories. Proper grassroots campaigning. So it really was, we had very few resources, a very small team. And like you say, it was you and me with a glue gun and some Corex boards, and sticking a speaker on the van. And now we're standing here today on this fabulous Reform Party bus that's all shiny.
And let me just ask you about this, because here we have 4,000 people crowding into the NEC in Birmingham, people from everywhere around the United Kingdom. We've got people tuning in from around the world watching this live stream. I often hear people messaging me from different countries in Europe and around the world, expats as well, saying, you are our only hope. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that you and I would be standing here in front of 4,000 people as Nigel takes to the stage to talk about the next 5 years and how we become the party of government?
I never imagined it would turn into what we have here today, and I feel like you can feel the gears cranked up, and you can feel that we're a growing movement and how things are changing. But I just think this is just the beginning. I imagine our next conference will be even bigger, and there's so much passion, and I think our conferences are unlike anything else. There's so much passion out there. You can feel the energy and the buzz in the room. It's amazing. I never would have imagined it.
No, well, congratulations to you as well, and to your team as well. You've all worked incredibly hard, and I know how hard you work, so thank you very much on behalf of the whole of Reform UK. Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you very much, David.
Let's now move downstairs, and let me... Okay, let's try that one. I'm just making my way down to the front of the bus. Let's go over here and meet some more of the delegates. So as I was saying, we've got 4,000 people crowding in to this auditorium. Let's go meet some more of our delegates. Hello. Nice to see you.
And you, lovely to see you.
So tell everyone who's watching this at home and around the world who you are and why you're here.
My name's Maxine Fothergill. I'm a former parliamentary candidate for Old Bexley and Sidcup.
Yes, well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I got 10,384 votes to be precise.
Well, you did very well.
Thank you.
And you actually fought a very hard campaign, didn't you?
I really did, yeah. Really excited to be here today. Fantastic. Our first proper conference. And I can't wait to see what's going to be happening today.
What did you think as you walked through the auditorium into this arena, which is vast?
Electric. Absolutely fantastic atmosphere. It is so exciting. I just can't wait.
And what's it been like talking to your other delegates and other people attending? Is there... I mean, we were talking earlier, actually, I was talking to Matt Goodwin earlier on the bus, just talking about the fact that the country is so unhappy with Keir Starmer, with Labour. The Conservative Party is not a force for good. They're fighting over who's going to be the leader. What's the feeling about Reform UK and where it is going?
Well, I mean, what can you say? He's robbed the pensioners, taken away the winter fuel allowance. He's not liked. People are very, very unhappy, and you can almost see the winter of discontent coming up. So I think, it's all good for us, to be totally honest with you. The way that they have gone in and they've been so brutal and so fast, it is absolutely awful, and they will have blood on their hands.
I just find it extraordinary that the first policy you enact is you strip the winter fuel allowance off 10 million vulnerable pensioners. And we already know that pensioners, something like 5,000, die every single year anyway. Was that a mistake, or was it carefully calculated?
I think it was carefully calculated, to be totally honest with you. They lied. They lied before they got in. They lied to get in, and they've let down the majority of the voters that would have actually voted for them. And they will feel this in the future.
Just one final question, if I may. Just looking around and talking to other people here, is there a sense that people are disaffected Tories, or have they come from Labour? Are they coming from other parties? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I'm a former councillor for the Conservatives, so I do believe there's a lot of ex-Conservatives, but there's also a lot of ex-Labour as well. I think that we are really very much a broad brush. People that are really discontent with like mainstream politics, and this is the only home for them. In my personal opinion, we are the party that will be leading the country in 2029, and we will be leading the councils and the county councils from next year.
And look, that's a really good point, because actually it's not just about the big picture, is it? It's about the little picture and making sure we're in charge of the councils and all of those branch structures and everything as well. Thank you so much. Have a really good conference. I hope you really enjoy it. Lovely to see you too. Well, as you can see, I think we've got 4 minutes to go until the main conference starts. If you come with me, I want to introduce you to someone else over here. Oh, sorry. If you come with me. So back to the bus now. And here he is, a man I've been waiting to see. This is Ryan, who is resplendent in our Reform UK merchandise. You look very good, Ryan.
It's great. There's more merch than ever before.
Yeah, so what have you got? So you've obviously got a new branded hat. Tell us about that.
Well, it's quite cool, isn't it? It really
cool.
is. Yeah.
A new logo.
Multiple colours as well. It doesn't just have to be black. We've got white, black, plenty of colours across T-shirts, hats, woolly hats as well, because we are starting to get into the winter months. So
now, I seem to remember you and I campaigning in woolly hats many years ago.
Yes.
We have done it a few times, and you need a woolly hat.
You sure do, definitely, yeah.
What else have
as well?
And some gloves. What else have you got there?
There are mugs there as well. There's small badges, basically for suits, stickers, whatever really. It's all there.
And tell us about the bottle.
Bottle's great. I'm using it already, and I'll be using it for work moving forward.
I need a bottle, actually, because trying to get hold of water in this venue is very difficult indeed. Just what's this? I mean, Ryan, you've worked with the party for a very long time. You and I are old friends. We go back a long way. When you look at the atmosphere today, what's your overriding impression?
It's amazing. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, we had 400 people for our first conference. Now, maybe 2, 3, 4,000. I don't know.
We think it's 4,000.
4,000. Amazing. Yeah.
And could you ever imagine that we would grow this quickly? I mean, one of the other things that we believe is that this is the fastest growing political party in this country and of all time.
Definitely. Our membership has grown significantly. It's really on the up. Everything's looking great. And no, I couldn't imagine it this time last year.
Well, and also congratulations to you, because this man worked incredibly hard to get Richard Tice elected in Boston and Skegness, and you deserve enormous congratulations for that. But where can people find you?
So yeah, we're on a merchandise stall. It's really big. It's about 50 foot, right in the centre of the NEC, basically arena we're in. So the second you come out in this building, you'll be able to see us right outside the front.
Fantastic. Ryan, thank you very much. I hope we have a drink later on. Well, that is it for the moment, ladies and gentlemen, of our behind-the-scenes look at what is happening here at conference. Right, the time is 2 minutes to 12. Now, here's another secret. I'm actually hosting the entire event. So I now have to go and get changed, run round the back of this stage, get changed, and appear on the stage in about 10 seconds' time. Stay where you are. We'll then take all of this morning's speeches live. We'll rejoin you after those speeches. Have a look at this. This is what is coming up this morning here for Reform. Hello, Birmingham! Hello, Birmingham! Much better. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Reform Conference 2024. Well, I'm Dr. David Bull, and it's my great pleasure to be your host today. I'm delighted to welcome everyone joining us on our live stream from around the world, and of course our audience here at the NEC in Birmingham. Yes, 4,000 of you. Well, now let's move to pressing matters. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine, if you will, a country where we allow pensioners to freeze in their own homes, where we steal the winter fuel allowance off 10 million pensioners, leaving them worse off. This is a country where we already allow 5,000 people to die every single year because they cannot afford to turn their heating on. This is, by the way, all whilst the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, claims £4,400 towards her own energy bills from the public purse, whilst her Labour cronies, yes, her Labour cronies similarly claim more than £400,000 of taxpayer money without a shred of embarrassment. Now, also, imagine a country where we plan to penalise people for being widowed or for being single by removing the single-person council tax discount. Imagine a country that robs people of aspiration and hard work. A country where we have 9 million economically inactive people and 5 million people on out-of-work benefits. And yet, we still allow 750,000 people to come to this country legally every single year. Imagine a government that thinks it's okay to tax your already taxed income at eye-watering levels when you die, robbing your families of their hard-earned inheritance. Imagine a country where we put 23,000 illegal immigrants before our own citizens, whilst at the same time failing to support veterans who have fought for this country. As you know, I'm a doctor by training. Let me tell you, this country, the National Health Service, is on its knees. We have 20 million people waiting for medical care currently, 7.76 million people waiting to see a specialist, 11.3 million people waiting for onward care. This is a country where more than 10 million people have been waiting at least a month just to see their GP. Now, this is the same NHS that politicians claim is world-leading. Well, the reality is our cancer survival rates are 15 years behind other major countries. Now, this is the same country, you will remember, where after 22 months of junior doctor strikes, 1.5 million operations and appointments have been cancelled, and the cost to you, to the taxpayer, to us, is £3 billion. Now, this sounds really far-fetched, actually. It sounds horrific. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is reality. This is Starmer's Britain. And it shouldn't be this way. So what has the government actually done about it? Well, the government's response is to give inflation-busting pay rises to the union paymasters without any sense of reform taking place. This, in my view, is abhorrent and it's morally indefensible. £10 billion of your cash has been given to the unions that control Labour. The junior doctors, well, they've been given a walloping 22% pay rise, and yet they refuse to rule out further strike action, further endangering patients' lives. Now, even the government's own report, written by Professor Aradazi, says the NHS is in a critical condition. His words. He says the NHS must reform or die. Well, I'll tell you what, Professor Darcy, I could have told you that because I wrote it in our reform report, which was published 2 years ago. And yet, Ara's report, by the way, and Professor Darcy, who taught me, by the way, his report is woefully lacking in detail about how the system should be reformed. The picture I paint, ladies and gentlemen, is of broken Britain. We are a national and international embarrassment. And make no mistake, Labour is a threat to this country. But with every threat comes an opportunity, and this is our opportunity. We are the newest political party in the United Kingdom, and we are only 4 years old. We were formed after our triumphant success as the Brexit Party. We're led so brilliantly by Nigel. We achieved what was said to be unachievable, and that was to leave the European Union. I was actually there. I was there in the European Parliament with my colleagues when we voted for that final time. And we thought we had actually achieved Brexit. But once again, the mainstream political parties conspired against us and betrayed the British public, and they betrayed you. Now, as a party, from a standing start, I think you will agree we had an astonishing general election. I just will recap. A brand new party. We came third in terms of vote share. We won 14% of the votes cast. We won 4.1 million votes. By any metric, that is an extraordinary feat. And yet, due to our insane electoral system, that vote, 4.1 million votes, only translated into 5 members of Parliament. The Liberal Democrats, however, got a lower vote share than us, but due to the inherent unfairness of the system, they managed to get 72 members of Parliament. But do not be downhearted, because this is only the beginning for us. This was always going to be a 10-year plan. We are the fastest growing political party in the United Kingdom. And it is believed we are now the fastest growing political party ever seen in British history. Now, we have over 80,000 members, which is just short of what the Conservative Party has got. But remember, the Conservative Party was formed in 1834, and we were formed in 2020. Now, this is conference season, and this week the national newspapers have predicted this year's Conservative Party conference will be a disaster. Businesses are expected to cancel their attendance at the conference this year in unprecedented numbers, which means this year's Tory event is on track to be the least popular in living memory, or in short, as one commentator said in a newspaper, it's going to be a wake. But you see, our conference couldn't be more different. This conference is the polar opposite. I told you, we've never had so many delegates here at our conference, and this really is the Reform Party. But make no mistake, the hard work really does start now. This is when we plan to rebuild Britain, because Britain needs reform. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to introduce the first of our famous five. Yes, James is the personification of Mr. Smith Goes to Westminster. Now, this is a man, right, who proves that standing up for what you believe in can result in something of a complete change of circumstances. James had only been in the party for 2 months before he was actually elected. And I think you'll agree that is something of a roller coaster. Now, Nigel actually said something. Nigel actually said to him on the day after he was elected, "Oh dear boy, I think I've just ruined your life." And I think James would now agree. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome our first speaker, James McMurdo, Member of Parliament.
Well, David is absolutely right. This has ruined my life. But I absolutely wouldn't have it any other way. So, good afternoon, conference. It is an unbelievable privilege to be standing here today. And I want to thank all of you, genuinely, for making the effort to be here. I really appreciate it. Knowing some of my family is in the audience as well makes this that little bit more special. But I do have to warn you, if there's any heckling, it's almost definitely coming from there. Given virtually all of you will have never heard of me just a couple of weeks ago, let me just take a second to introduce myself. My name is James McMurdo, and I am the MP for South Basildon and East Thurrock. So, why did I get involved with politics, and what made me stand for reform? Well, unfortunately, like many of you, I feel like Great Britain is on the wrong path and politics is broken. Before learning more about reform, I had genuinely reached the stage where I was going to go down to the polling station and deliberately spoil my ballot. I was so frustrated with the Conservatives' poor record of accountability and delivery, and having read the Labour manifesto, I became even more frustrated with what they were offering. So what to do? Well, as fate would have it, as I was pondering this very question, I saw an interview with Richard Tice speaking about the things reform were offering. Putting money back in the pockets of working families. Getting the country's economy moving again. Energy and defence policies that would offer stability to our country. Conversations over taboo topics like immigration finally being had rather than just swept under the rug. The more I looked, the more I thought, genuinely, this was a party I could stand behind. And like everyone here, it started with a simple £25 membership fee. I genuinely thought to myself, go on guys, let the establishment have it, do what you can. Little did I know that £25 would go a lot further than I was expecting. From then, time moved very quickly. On the 4th of May, I was invited to interview. On the 4th of June, I was invited to stand. And 10 days later, I was invited to be a parliamentary candidate for Reform UK. Campaigning was a new challenge, but thanks to some fantastic volunteers who stepped forward purely out of the goodness of their heart, we hit the ground running. So very quickly, a special thank you to Angela, Becky, Colin, Glenn, Gordon, Holly, Linda, Michelle, Mick, Nick, Robert, Sarah. Sarah, I know you're in the audience as well. And Steve. Your support made all the difference. These were people who'd never met me before. I had no political history. They just stepped forward to help, genuinely. Of course, not everything went smoothly. I left the imprint of 20,000 leaflets I'd ordered. What's worse than one mistake? 20,000. So that small but mandatory detail meant my wonderful wife and I had to spend many evenings manually stamping it on. I can honestly still hear that kadunk in my dreams. So at the start of my campaign, I told myself that everyone I pass in the street, I have to speak to. I thought that was the fairest way of honing myself and getting a feel for how things were out there. As you can imagine, and in the real world, most people are very, very supportive. In fact, the vast majority were. My biggest concern, though, was the second most common group, those people who were simply giving up on politics. And who could blame them? Just a month or so earlier, I felt the very same frustration. So as I reached more people, honestly and seriously, there were very few awkward moments. But one experience does stand out. A beautiful home, approached it full of joy, and out came the grumpiest man you'd ever met in your life. Okay, that's how it's going to be. But on to the next house, there's a gentleman washing his car, his mum coming out. She said, "We're voting Reform, nobody likes him." And that was an honest experience. So it was in stark contrast to the reception I'd just received, but it did boost my spirits. It went to show that support was never that far away. A blink of an eye later, and it was election day. While the major news outlets were repeatedly banging the drum for Labour, including in my area of South Basildon and East Thurrock, that had not been my lived experience. That had not been the impression I'd got from talking to people on the streets. As I canvassed, the enthusiasm just simply wasn't there for any of the other parties, and I thought to myself, maybe, just maybe, there might be an upset. To add to that sense, a single poll from Britain Elects had been released the day before. This had put Reform in the lead in my seat, and again, I thought maybe, just maybe. Well, we did it. It took 15 hours and 3 counts before it was made official, but Reform had its 5th MP. And while I recognise what a tremendous experience this is, I knew it was just the start of the hard work, not the end. And while I absolutely recognise it's a privilege, I know this must be taken extremely seriously. So 2 months on, what have I done? How have I used my time? Well, when the government announced plans to release 5,500 criminals back onto our streets, I was appalled. I did my research and I made a discovery. There are 10,000 foreign nationals in our jails. Those same criminals come with an annual cost to the taxpayer of £500 million. I've been here 2 months. It shouldn't be that easy for me to find things like this. I mean that. I wrote to the minister demanding they deport the foreign nationals. That would save us money. That would save us money and keep our streets safe. Like the rest of my Reform colleagues, I voted to protect the winter fuel allowance. Again, I did my research and I found we had increased our foreign aid budget by £1.4 billion. What's more shocking? this same amount as the proposed savings from the winter fuel payment, £1.4 billion. I wrote to the Chancellor before the vote demanding we prioritise our pensioners over foreign aid. Labour decided the foreign aid budget was more important. I do not agree. But now you have a choice. There is a party that will represent you and stand up for common sense. Of course, for me, the issues are local too. The Lower Thames Crossing will be the third largest infrastructure project in the UK and is squarely on my patch. One of you. This is a £10 billion mega project. Per mile, it is more expensive than HS2. Not a single brick has been laid, and in the last 10 years, they have spent £3 billion on it. Exactly. The Conservatives shirked responsibility to make a final decision, and now we're at the mercy of Labour. I've worked with local residents there. I've spoken to local action groups. I've looked at everything in detail, and I've made it very clear where I stand. There has to be some accountability. It's our money. It's that simple. We all know it's our money. Thurrock Council in my constituency was embroiled in an investment scandal. £1.5 billion lost. That is 40% of their operating budget. Politics is broken. Thurrock deserves better. Great Britain deserves better. And Reform is here to deliver it. So here's a little bit of good news. The fight is tough, but we have shown it possible to beat the establishment. If you vote Reform, you get real, skilled, and honest people here to represent you. Mark my words, there are people in this very room who will be Reform MPs alongside me in 2029. The momentum is absolutely on our side. What we have achieved in such a short period of time is nothing less than extraordinary. Nigel, or as I should call him, the Honourable Member for Clacton, and Richard, the Honourable Member for Boston and Skegness, are the people to lead us into Downing Street. We will then be ready to welcome Nigel Farage, not just as a Member of Parliament, but as the Prime Minister. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, David.
Wasn't he fantastic? Well, let me tell you, our next speaker is quite literally a force of nature. Oh, yes. She is a British politician and television personality who has been Reform UK's immigration and justice spokesperson since last year. Now, originally, she was a member of the Conservative Party. Yeah. She was Member of Parliament for Maidstone. She actually joined the Brexit Party in 2019, and she served with me, as a member of the European Parliament in Brussels. And I must tell you, this is when I got to know this lady very well indeed. Now, we would often dine together in Brussels, and Anne would regale me with lurid tales of her time in office and general Westminster gossip. I can't tell you what it is, and she will kill me for saying that. She's one of the most famous faces in this country. She starred in television programmes as diverse as Celebrity Fit Club, The Widdecombe Project, Doctor Who, Strictly Come Dancing, Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, Tipping Point, The Crystal Maze, and, of course, Celebrity Big Brother. I am, of course, talking about the one, the only, Ann Widdecombe.
Thank you, Conference. The last time we met, we had no MPs. And today we meet with 5 MPs. And in 5 years' time, we shall meet with more than 300 MPs. Meanwhile, we have Keir Starmer. Now, you know, I'm a spokesman for immigration, and yet I didn't hear one single policy from Keir Starmer during the entire general election. Other than that, he was going to drop the only deterrent, admittedly a rather weak one, but the only deterrent that there was up till then, which was the Rwanda scheme. And instead what he was going to do, having dropped the only deterrent that we had, what he was going to do was, he was going to smash the gangs. Well, you know, I may have got it wrong, but as far as I can see, the boats are still arriving almost daily. And promising to smash the gangs is a bit like promising to eliminate the mafia, or to smash the drug gangs, or to make it impossible to smuggle drugs into the country. And quite honestly, if he believes that he can just smash the people smuggling gangs and somehow turn the tide that way, then he is even less sensible than King Canute. And still he has no policy. Now, reform, of course, does have a policy, and it has a reserve policy. Reform makes it very clear, as neither Keir Starmer nor whoever it is who's going to lead the Conservatives, whoever it may be, are making clear. We've made it very clear that if you arrive in this country illegally from a perfectly safe one, which when I last looked France was, then you have no claim to asylum and you will be refused. So that the message goes out, if you think you can come to Britain and claim asylum and settle here as a result of that when you have come from a perfectly safe country, then the answer is, we shall meet you with the word no. Then we say, what we are going to do is to try to make sure that they don't arrive here in the first place. And a part of that is deterrence, but another part of it is actual activity in the Channel. And we will turn the boats round and send them back. And before you say that's impossible, the Australians did it, the Belgians did it, and the only reason that we haven't done it is we've never had a government with the will to do it. But of course, we acknowledge that there is no such thing as one plan only, and that some of the boats, even with a great deal of activity on our part in the Channel, some of the boats will still get through. So what we say is we are not going to house the people who come in on those boats in hotels. At the cost of billions a day to the British taxpayer. We will instead house them in secure reception centres. And then the message goes out, if you arrive unlawfully in this country from a perfectly safe country, then you will be refused, you will be dealt with quickly, and you will be sent back. And let me say, throughout all of this, I am talking about those who come here unlawfully. There will always be, every year, some cases of a genuine claim for political asylum. But those people don't come from safe countries. And that is the point that we must always remember. Now, of course, in order to enforce any or all of that, you do need an effective border force fleet. And we need to actually renew a lot of the fleet. And we are now being told that because of post-Brexit trading arrangements, we won't be able to do that before 2030, because we are going to have to advertise all the tenders internationally. How can a nation be sovereign if it cannot immediately and at its own expense and at its own wish replenish the control of its borders as and when necessary? The whole idea of getting rid of the EU was that we should take full control of our own borders. And if we haven't done that up till now, then we will do it the day after Nigel Farage enters number 10 Downing Street. And then the other half of my brief is justice. What justice? The scenes of prisoners being released early, not because they've been frightfully good, but because the government has run out of spaces. And prisoners have been released early to celebrate with champagne to declare undying loyalty to the Labour Party. Well, all I can say is the Labour Party's welcome to them. But what sort of justice is that? Now, all governments from time to time, and it happened in my time when I was Prisons Minister, all governments from time to time find that there is undue pressure on prison spaces, and they begin to run out. And at that point, you have a choice. You either let the prisoners out, or you provide more prison spaces. And I'm not talking about the longer-term plans for new prisons. I mean that if you see a situation coming down the path at you when you are going to run out of prison spaces, then you take temporary measures to supply those new places. It isn't rocket science. And I did. I brought in a prison ship from the United States. The Labour Party derided it at the time as the Hulks, but they then kept it for another 9 years. I also used disused porta cabins from decommissioned Norwegian oil rigs and put them down in the grounds of the lower security prisons. More spaces. I even proposed, but the general election got in the way, I even proposed to take over a disused holiday camp. Now, all you have to do, because the accommodation's already there, you put up a secure perimeter, and lo, you've got a low-security prison. Of course, you do take away the cinema and the swimming pool before you do that. But in short, it can be done. Just as the control of illegal immigration can be done. Just as policing knife and gun crime can be done. And yet what we've got is a government that holds up its hands and says, everything is the fault of the wicked Tories and there is nothing we can do. Well, they were elected to do something. They seem to have lost sight of that. But we haven't. And we know that when we are elected, it will be down to us to get this country working again. And we shan't say, oh, it's all the fault of the wicked Labour Party, because everybody is getting that message anyway and there won't be any need to say it. Now, we're on the move. We're really on the move. And that is thanks to Nigel and to Richard, who brought us through those years when we were brand new and everybody was dismissing us as a lot of swivel-eyed loons. David Cameron's phrase, ladies and gentlemen. They brought us through. And they brought us through to where we are now. I can tell you none of the other conferences are going to get this sort of enthusiastic turnout. And we're forming branches. You will soon be able, if you are not already able, to be active in your local areas and to build up a party that will be a true force, not just nationally, but in your local area. All that is ahead of us. And when those local council elections come along, we shall be there. And after those local council elections are finished, we shall be there. So we've got absolutely everything to look forward to. It will take an awful lot of sweat, blood and tears, to use the old phrase. It will take that, but we can see victory ahead of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support of reform. Now, that's not good enough. I want you to go out, not now. I want you to go out after this conference is finished tomorrow and each of you find 10 more people. And that is 10 each. Not 5 for a husband and 5 for a wife. It's 10 each. Go out and find 10 more people. And then next year, we'll be too big to fit in here. And that will show our opponents and the scoffers and those who have hitherto dismissed us, that will show them that we are Britain's future.
Well, the amazing Ann Widdecombe there. Now, building a political party from scratch in this country is a huge task. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes a vision, and it takes money. It also requires a touch of insanity. And 4 years ago, this party started with just, I think, 3 of us at that time, Nigel, Richard and me. And today we boast nearly 80,000, over 80,000 members now. We're increasing in every poll carried out since the election. We're actually planning to stand over 2,000 candidates in next year's council elections. And, as Anne said, we're rolling out a branch structure across the whole country with a branch in every constituency with well over 100 already rolled out. And our new chairman, Zia Youssef, has been very busy indeed. He's professionalising the party at a speed never seen before in British politics. And there is an old maxim, actually: belief creates reality. If you believe it enough and you put enough hard work into it, then you can achieve it. And our next speaker is here to tell us something about that. He's a British adventurer, television personality, and former UK Special Forces soldier, Royal Marines Commando, and Royal Engineer in the British Army. He is best known as the former chief instructor on the Channel 4 television series SAS Who Dares Wins. He also appeared as the captain in the adventure reality show Mutiny and the survival show Escape. Now, if that wasn't enough, in 2018 he climbed Mount Everest for the TV show Extreme Everest with Ant Middleton. And the point to this is he proves that anything is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ant Middleton.
Do not worry, I'm not here to thrash the living daylights out of you. A lot of you are probably thinking, what the hell is Ant Middleton doing here at the Reform Conference? Well, what do I know about politics? I know enough about modern day politics to realise that it's not working here in the UK. Hence, the solution is in the title, reform. Political reform is definitely needed. And it doesn't take the brains of Elon Musk to realise that. What do I know? Now, I do know about national security. I do know about safety. I do know about personal safety. I do know about community. I do know about teamwork. I do know about coming together. I do know about identity. Identity being key here. Identity gives us purpose, it gives us drive, it gives us ambition. It gives us a one-dimensional goal to work towards. Identity being key. I do know about trust. Trusting each other to get something done. And I do know about unity, a coming together of a unit, of a team, of a country to make sure that we are secure and safe. That I do know about. I'm not here to speak about politics. I'll leave that to the politicians. But listen, what I do know is national security, and that's what we're going to touch on very, very first and foremost. Now, when I spoke to Nigel and the wider team a couple of years ago, for those that don't know, I do a TV show called SAS, Who Dares Wins, where I bring in broken people and I strip them down so they can identify who they are, so they have an identity, and then I build them back up to go out into the world and to achieve. And I got asked a question by Nigel and his wider team saying, could you do that with a broken country? How do you do that? And we went through how I broke people down. I said it's quite simple. Now, what I do with individuals, I bring them into a camp. I close those gates. Let's call it the border. I close the gates and I make sure that no one comes in unless they benefit the environment. Okay? Super important. If they benefit the environment, they can come in. 2, if they benefit the individuals in my camp, i.e. the countrymen and women. If they benefit them, you can come in. Also, if they adhere to the rules and regulations of my camp. And when I started to break it down, I was like, wow, actually, if we go back to the bare basics, if we strip it all back down, there's super similarities here. It's not too dissimilar. Yes, it's a lot more complicated, but it's not too dissimilar. Now, the moment those gates are closed, hopefully that individual feels safe. Super important, because safety then trickles into trust. If you feel safe around someone, you can start to trust someone. If you feel safe in a community, you can start to trust that community. If you feel safe in a country, you can start to trust that country. So I looked at the bigger picture, which is this country that I've fought for, that I've had the privilege of operating at the very highest level. Thank you. With multiple agencies, whether that's intelligence agencies, different special forces, I have seen a topographical view of how the country works. And the key thing is the safety behind it. So I know how it works. I know what needs to be done. And when I look at the borders, I'm almost disgusted that our Royal Navy, the best Navy in the world, no shadow of a doubt, we have the best Navy in the world, are being put on the back burner, not allowed to do their jobs. Not being allowed to do their jobs. Double standards, call it 2-tier, whatever you want to call it, double standards. They're not allowed to do their job. Wow. The best Navy in the world aren't allowed to do their job, i.e. protect our waters. So, of course, I haven't got a secure camp. We haven't got a secure camp because we don't know who's coming in. They're certainly not benefiting the environment. They're certainly not adhering to the rules and regulations. And they're certainly not benefiting us as a nation. Now, interpret that as you will, okay? Let's say that's the border, okay? I don't want to get in too much trouble and be cancelled again. So let's just say that that's the border. My little camp is the border. Now, what do I do once I've secured my camp? They feel safe. I make sure that people are safe, and I start stripping them down, okay? Broken people come to me, I strip them down, and I make them realize what they're capable of. I make them identify their true selves, who they really are. I give them an identity. Whew. What's British identity? British culture. What's British culture? British history. Okay? So why is that being eradicated? Why is that being trampled all over? Why aren't we allowed to be the umbrella culture of this country? And it's very, very simple. If I hear someone say once more, what if British culture, scones and tea, I'm going to throttle them. No, I'm not going to kill anyone, don't worry. But British culture is British history. British history is born, this country is born on the values of Christianity. Those values have worked for years, centuries and centuries to get us where we are today. The moment we lose our identity, guess what we lose? Our purpose, our focus, our direction. What happens when we don't have an identity? We get confused. Number one, when I left the military, lost my identity, I got confused. When you have a nation of confused people, guess what happens after? Frustration. You get frustrated. Like the individual, very much like the individual. What happens after frustration? Anger. Anger, violence. Violence. What's happening on our streets right now? Violence. We are at a very, very important and crucial stage before it teeters into civil unrest, which we want to avoid at all costs. But it's coming. We are on that edge where violence has hit the streets. We've all seen it. I don't need to mention what it is. We've all seen it. And it might not happen in your community, but it's happening, the majority. You go outside of London, it's happening outside, even on the borders, even in London itself. You look at the knife crime. I know Anne mentioned it before. Knife crime, gun crime. Wow. Talk about that second layer of security, which is the community, non-existent. Do you know why? Because we've got a non-existent security on the borders. So what's it doing? It's filtering in right into the center of our communities. Like I said, the next step is going to be a lot worse unless we get a grip of it right now. We need to revert back to the basics. Let's strip everything down, back to the basics. Identity. We need the umbrella identity of British culture. British culture needs to be at the forefront of everything. By all means, come in, practice your culture. We are accepting, by all means, but we need an umbrella culture. We need that identity because then we have our rules and regulations, which everyone needs to adhere to. Okay? That way, it stops double standards. And what does double standards create? Again, this is military tactics 101. What does that create? It creates division. Double standards creates division. Okay? That is apparent all over the UK. We are so divided, therefore so controlled. Divided to a point where that circle before used to cross over, and we used to be in that realm of common sense, of making sure that our military is secure, making sure that our police force is up to scratch, up to standard. My 7-year-old son could pass the entrance test for the police force. I could do it backwards, I promise you. I promise you. And having these people in these high locations, in this hierarchical structure that I know, they're telling me firsthand. I'm not making this stuff up. They're telling me firsthand. And therefore, that's what we need to secure, the 3 rings of security. The country, our community, then personal security, personal safety. Personal safety is paramount. And when that happens, again, taking that from an individual to a country, when that happens, trust starts to kick in. You start to trust people, you start to trust the people around you, you start to trust the community, you start to trust the country. And that's what we need to reestablish. We need to reestablish trust and unity within this country. And it's easily done. People say it's a lot more complicated than that. No, it's not. They like to think, they like to tell you that it is because they're using military tactics of distraction. They distract you with all the irrelevant stuff, with all the virtual signaling, taking it away from the bigger problems, which we don't want to tackle because they are complicated. The borders is a complicated thing, but they don't want to tackle it because it's so complicated. So what do? They distract you. They control you through division. That distraction method is absolutely evident. And then when they distract you, they can control you. And when they can control you, guess what? we fall into chaos, and that's exactly what's happening now. We haven't got time. We haven't got time for this to happen. We need those 3 rings of security. Our military needs to be priority. Our military was once the best military in the world, and I still believe they're there right now. I do. Our police force, exactly the same. The standards need to be risen again. The standards have dropped so badly that, of course, you've got double standards. And then again, double standards creates division. Of course, you've got two minds going either way. We need to fortify our police force, and we need to bring the standards back up. And for me, the most important thing for unity and for everyone to be singing off the same song sheet is our culture. The culture of our beloved country. The history that we fought for to be here today. Phenomenal, I know it very well. I know it very well. Yes, we are accepting. Yes, we will bring everyone under that umbrella. Adhere to our rules and regulations. Respect our culture. You can come in and play. And I'm going to be here along with Nigel, not necessarily on a political standpoint, but on a structural standpoint. I know what we need to establish. And again, reverting back to the basics. What are the foundations of our country? What's holding this country up? Because the pillars, identity, that's crumbling. Safety, that's more or less gone. Unity, the whole platform's over now. Community, safety, those pillars are just non-existent. So the right political party, i.e. Nigel and his team and Reform, need your help to make sure that the next political party that we do is Reform. The next party that gets in is Reform. We have 4 years to make that happen. Two years for Scotland. Listen, I love the jocks. Don't worry about that. I love the jocks. And again, this is for another talk and another brief, but coming together, I talk about unity. Again, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. What's happening there? Let's come together. That is what we're here for. Look at the flag. And before I leave you, do not be put off with the distraction methods. Do not be fooled. Do not let them divide us, okay? Because the moment we're divided, well, guess what? Military saying we're conquered. And we're very, very close to allowing that to happen, okay? What I want to do over the next 4 years is help Nigel and his team get them ready for that next political push, which is hopefully... Yes, there you go. I will sort the military out myself. Don't worry about that. But on a serious note and leaving you, we're in critical times right now. And I dip in and out. I travel so much. And when I look back in, I am extremely concerned for the beloved country that I fought so hard for. That World War I, World War II gave us our freedom, and we continue to do so. We must maintain the integrity of this country. And I will be here, dipping in and out during these next few years with Nigel and the team, and hopefully become a more of a constant when we finally get into power. Up the Reform. Thank you so much. Remember, identity first. Identity first. Thank you.
Well, inspirational stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't you agree? Well, that now concludes the first half of our programme. Now, still to come this afternoon, we'll be hearing from 4 more of our famous 5, including, of course, our leader, Nigel Farage. We'll also be hearing from our new chairman, Zia Youssef, on his vision for the party. For those of you in the hall here in Birmingham, it's now time for lunch. But for those of you watching on our live stream around the world, coverage continues with a sneak peek behind the scenes and exclusive interviews with the big beasts of Reform UK delegates. And I'm also off to try and get a kiss from Ann Widdecombe. Don't go anywhere. See you later. Well, welcome back to our viewers around the world on our live stream of Reform UK's 2024 conference. I think you'll agree, really inspirational speeches this morning. We heard from James McMurdo, one of the famous five. We heard from Ann Widdecombe, a storming speech, a barnstorming speech about how she wants to improve this country. And then Ant Middleton there talking about how the country needs to improve. He talked about trust and integrity and rebuilding communities. Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me now here on the bus, I have Mr. Richard Tice. Do you want to stand up and come over?
Everybody,
you
wow.
need that up
yeah,
there.
Fantastic. What a day.
What a day, Richard. Look, you and I go back a very long way.
Easy, Tiger.
We do go back a very long way.
We do.
And it is actually thanks to you that we are here. You had the foresight, the vision to continue with the party. You funded the party. You and I spent hours working out how we were going to progress
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you feel watching
I'm
this?
so excited. It's incredible, the growth. It's like a hockey stick of growth. It's truly incredible. You know, we're like a political startup, and we achieve great things with modest resources, massive amount of hard work, and a certain amount of naive madness. But that's what but actually, my late uncle always said to me, Richard, you've got to be in the room to be in the deal. And he was referring to sort of property deals. And that's what we were. We were at the table, on the ballot paper. And eventually people sort of heard about us, and they said, yeah, do you know what? They're telling it as it is. They're talking common sense. And as word spread, and, you know, there's nothing better than word of mouth as a reference. And we've achieved that incredible growth. You know, even when we were here at the end of June, and people said then, well, you're still not going to get any MPs, you might get one. Well, we got 5, we nearly got another whole bunch, 4.1 million votes, 4.1 million votes. That was a source of huge pride. You know, and for you and I on this journey, this huge extra surge of energy and enthusiasm, it's great, it's wild.
It is wild, actually. How do you feel about our system, though? The fact we got 4 million votes, we got 5 MPs, and yet when you look at the vote share and the number of Liberal Democrat MPs, it seems fundamentally unjust.
And it is fundamentally unjust, which is why we've argued long and hard for the benefits of proportional representation. First past the post is absurd. You've got a loveless landslide.
Ann Widdecombe doesn't agree with you.
Ann Widdecombe doesn't agree with me, and she'll be on this. But that's the joy of democracy, and you can agree to disagree, even within a party, on certain issues. But equally, we've got the system that we've got, first past the post. It'll be with us for some time. So let's win under that. And in a sense, maybe we just prove ourselves wrong. And I think, I mean, you'll hear from Zia and Nigel later about how we win, and me later. But, you know, we can win the next general election. And we have to be ambitious. Yes, I do. We have to be ambitious. We've got a Labour Party. You know, when I launched the word Starmageddon in January 24, it caused a ripple and a laugh. We never realised that within 11 weeks it would be Starmageddon on steroids. I'll talk about some of his nicknames later on. Look forward to that, folks. Yeah. But, I mean, it's a disaster, what's going on. The country is being taken in the wrong direction, but we can turn it around, and that's the exciting thing. And what you heard, you know, from Anne, from James, and then from Ant there, you know, some of the points about trust and integrity, our foundation of Christianity, really powerful, strong stuff you never hear from other political parties. They're embarrassed to talk about this stuff. And what I say is, actually, you've got to tell it as it is. And sometimes people might find it a little bit uncomfortable, but sometimes the truth is difficult, and sometimes the truth hurts. But if you don't tell the truth, and if you're not prepared to talk about stuff, then misinformation spreads underground, and that's a bad place to be.
Talking of someone who tells it as it is, if I can bring Anne in here, Ann Widdecombe, if you can just stand next to Richard facing, or come and stand here.
Come and stand.
Come and stand next to me.
No,
you need to be facing her.
You know that I do not like heights. You should know that by now.
Yes.
Come here.
Or I'm not going anywhere near this
if you
terrible height.
Can we spin you round, though?
Richard's so tall, he could just stand by the fire.
I'll protect you, Anne.
Can you just spin round so we can just see your pretty face? Yes. There you are. There you are. So Anne, you've got a microphone, but you.
Yes, I have.
You always tell me off, but you always speak in a forthright manner, and you say it as it is, as Richard was saying. It seems to me that you have your fingers on the pulse of the nation.
Well, I mean, I think the nation made it very clear at the last general election what it wanted. And now we have to build on that. We've got a bridgehead in Parliament. Now we need to take the whole place by storm. We can do that too.
And your feelings looking at the way the conference has grown, the numbers of people here, the delegates, the optimism. I mean, obviously, formerly a Conservative. The sense I get here is of excitement, anticipation, that people are very excited.
This is the Conservative Party of the old days.
Is that right?
I can vividly remember in the 1970s, when our conferences were just as bubbly, just as enthusiastic as this. And then I remember the conference in the dying years of the Conservatives, and that says it all. And we are a party of strength. That is why we're bubbly and why we're confident.
And would you agree with Richard that we actually can become the party of government at the next election?
Oh, I've no doubt about it, we can. But whether we will now depends on all of us.
Do you also think that our message is now getting across to the public? It seems to me there is a lot of buyer's remorse, people who voted for the Labour Party, those people who abstained from voting Conservative, and I think there is a sense of profound disappointment.
Yes, I think there is. I think that Keir Starmer has had a phenomenally unsuccessful first few weeks in office, really, and it's only just months. People are waking up to the fact that there was an alternative that they could have had.
Yeah.
All they needed was the courage to put the cross by the insurgent party. That's all they had to do.
And Richard, congratulations to you, of course, for becoming a Member of Parliament. And now Deputy Leader.
Thank you.
Yes. Just in terms of that, though, it must be nice to hand over some of the reins of this, because it is a full-time job.
Oh, it's a full-time job, and I'm hugely grateful to our new chairman, Zia Youssef, for taking this on and taking it to the next level and coming in with new ideas, new energy. It's amazing, allowing me to do my best as a constituency MP, working hard in Boston and Skegness, which I'm loving doing every week, getting recognised, getting stuck in, speaking as much as I can. I've done 16 speeches in the House of Commons already in a matter of 5 weeks or so. And yeah, getting stuck in and already focusing on the county elections, the mayoral elections in Lincolnshire next May. And it's building that confidence. And if we can do really, really well, and I think we can, and we'll hear about that more of that later, that gives the confidence to more people, as Anne was saying, to have the courage to put the cross in the box of the growing insurgent becoming a mainstream party.
Wow.
And that's the journey, and that's the opportunity. And yeah, massive hard work, more people going, but you know what? Momentum builds momentum.
Yeah.
Success builds success. The number of people saying, oh, can I get involved? Can I get stuck in? Can I help with some donations? All of that. And that's part of it. So yeah, it's a hopefully a never-ending, continuing to grow journey.
Amazing stuff. Anne, thank you very much indeed. A great speech this morning.
Absolutely remarkable.
And Richard, very much looking forward to your speech this afternoon as well, and your anecdotes. I can't wait for the anecdotes.
About David.
That's where I was going with that. Ann Widdecombe, Richard Tice, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Right, let's have a look at what is coming up for the rest of this afternoon. Here you go. So this afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock, we have Rupert Lowe, the Member of Parliament for Great Yarmouth. Following him will be Lee Anderson, Member of Parliament for Ashfield. Richard, who we just spoke to there, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, will be speaking at around 3:30. And our new chairman, Zia Youssef, chairman of Reform UK, will be speaking at 3:45. And then highly anticipated, of course, the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, will be speaking at 4 o'clock to bring today's proceedings to a close. Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by Ant Middleton. An amazing speech. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was actually more political than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be about belief and putting your energy and effort into something, and then you can achieve goals. But actually, you really touched a nerve with the audience.
But it is, it's the motivation to re-establish our identity. It's the motivation to come together. It's the motivation to come together as a community. Right? It's the motivation to be a better person with yourself, for your safety, your security. There's an underlying message there. But I think what's really important is that we do need to strip everything back to the foundations, to the bare basics, the things that aren't working, and all these smoke and mirrors that are happening, with certain politicians about virtual signalling or whatever it may be, is purely a distraction method. And we need to focus on the core problems, and they're obvious, right?
Well, yeah, and one of the things that I thought was a great message from you was about community. If you build community, you build trust. And that is what is fundamentally missing at the moment. And then if you don't have trust, you get violence. I don't suppose I'd ever seen it spelt out in that way.
Yeah, and again, it's just keeping it simple. I'm a very simple individual, but I know how people work. I know how the human mind works. I know how the structure works from the top down. And once you build trust, then you build unity. And unity's in the title, right? United Kingdom. We've always been a united island, right? And that's what we revert back to. We need to revert back to. How do we do that? We scale it down.
Where has it gone wrong? Is it because we've had weak politicians who've allowed anything to go in this country? We haven't actually been true to our British values, the things that you fought for, that you and your colleagues fought for to keep this country great. It must be galling to see that fall.
Yeah, it all comes from our identity. The moment our identity is non-existent, is trampled all over, is mocked, is destroyed, then once we lose our identity, then what do we have as a country? No wonder there's confusion. Again, I mentioned about confusion, frustration, anger, violence, and I don't want to mention the next thing because we're too close to it. So it's about identifying how we can secure, and it's about security. People want to feel safe. I want to feel safe because when I'm safe around someone, I can put my trust into them. And when I put my trust into someone, and we do it as a collective, you bring back unity.
Can I just ask you finally, if I may, about the armed forces? Because there has been, or certainly under Rishi Sunak's government, they wanted to increase GDP spending. Keir Starmer has rode back on that. My personal feeling is that the men and women who put their lives on the line need to be supported. And we need to increase GDP spending, and we need to support our armed forces, because without that and the integrity and security of this country, we have nothing.
And also you need to allow them to get on with what they've joined to do. Protect the country. Let them do that at all costs. Let the Navy protect our waters. Let the military protect our shores. Okay, and then we look at the security forces, let the police protect the communities. We don't allow that to happen.
Can I just ask you, would you like to be in charge of the armed forces or possibly immigration?
Do you know what? It would be a tall demand, but listen, anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Well, actually, I think when you mentioned it, the audience rather liked the idea.
Yeah, I know they did. Yeah, they threw it out there, and they did. But on a serious note, you know, I'm quite happy, you know, with my life. You know, traveling around, doing what I do. I've got a good life. I don't need to step into the fold, but it keeps pulling me back because I've fought for my country. Because I'm a patriot. I love it, and I know multiple cultures around because I travel a lot. It just draws me back to, I can't just sit away and do nothing, right? I know far too much to sit back on my hands.
And obviously giving that inspirational speech, and one thing that Anne mentioned I thought was really fascinating, the energy here is like the Conservative Party conferences used to be.
Yeah. No, it's great, and you know you're stripping away all the BS, you know, all the distractions, all the nonsense, and you're giving them the raw form of what needs to, and everyone knows. We all know what needs to happen. We all know what we need to do. We all know what we need to implement. And when you say it in a truthful and authentic way, then of course the silent majority that haven't got a voice, of course they agree with it.
And really good to talk to you. Thank you ever so much. And a brilliant speech once again.
Thank you so much.
Ant Middleton there. Right, let's go and take you down to see what's going down downstairs. Okay, let's have a look at the speeches that are taking place this afternoon. There you are. There are the times for the speeches this afternoon. Let's go. And hello.
I want to say a quick word to Ant. Is that
okay?
okay?
Do you? Oh, I bet you do.
And you.
Oh, and me as well. So Ant is... there is Ant. Oh, well, there we are. I've lost that lady then. Well, there... Oh, hang on a minute. I've got some friends over. Come on now. Hello. How are you?
I'm fine, David. How are you, darling?
Very well, thank you. So your thoughts so far on the conference?
It's been really, really good. I loved Ant's approach on it. It's like the common people's approach. And especially from the armed forces background, I love the way he brought all that into it, the strategic side, and then it all comes together with everything that everyone in Reform has said. And I love James's approach. Like myself, I was chucked in because I was passionate and I came disenfranchised about everything, you know, because I've got a small business. So it was great to hear James as well. And it's passionate, and that's what a lot of people here are. They just want change. It's not they want to be politicians, and they're not doing it for that reason. They want to make changes in their communities, and I think that's what this is, a whole community coming together to make change.
And Ann Widdecombe just said to me up there the atmosphere and energy of this is like the Conservative Party conferences used to be.
What they want to be.
Well, it's how they used to be.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a party on the way up?
Definitely, definitely. Like I said, I was in the Conservatives up to 2019, and I lost all hope. And what this has done is started to restore my hope and restore the hope of those that come and talk to me. And, you know, we nearly got there with our election. You know, we were only a few, you know, we got to 28% from 2%. So when you look at that in 7-8 weeks, next time we've got the Senate elections in 2 years.
Yes.
We're going to kill it. These dragons are going to roar and we're going to take over the Senate.
There you are. You heard it there. The dragons are going to roar. That's what we're going to do in Wales. We heard also about Scotland. We're going to be talking to Martin Green, actually, as well, who looks after Scotland. We'll be talking to him later on today. That concludes the coverage for the moment. Go and grab yourself a bite to eat. We're going to start broadcasting again at about 2:30 with the speeches starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. This is Reform UK's Conference 2024.